In today's video, I remove plastic gun bay and I modify the whole interior. I use a spare engine from B25 Mitchell. I cut the wings slightly for landing flaps. I make a new tire pattern. I use a new vacuum cockpit canopy. Then I rescribe pan lines and make a new rivet lines. I cover parts with a dish cleaner sponge. I smooth the decals edges with a sandpaper and make minor salt weathering with oil paints. Now you know everything, so you do not need to watch it. Hello fellow modelers! The Avenger is one of most exciting torpedo bomber deployed in World War II. It is single engine aircraft, but the wingspan is 16.5 meters. Interesting fact that only 4 meters less than legendary 2-engine B25 Mitchell. As a result of the size, I decided on 72 scale. Unfortunately, nowadays are available old and not very precise kits. The Hobby 2000 is a repackaged Hasegawa kit and has only few plastic parts that I will replace or not use at all. Consequently, I purchased a few extra parts, including new interior and exterior details. In addition, I will install resin engine and landing flaps. The Hasegawa has very soft and not continuous pan lines, so it will be essential to rescribe them. As you can see, the interior is horrible and with no details whatsoever. Therefore, it's time for minor modifications. I'm separating parts which I do not need, so almost all. And I'm using micro grinder, razor saw and side cutters for this purpose. I have excellent photo-etched metal parts from Adriel. It helps a lot to make from this kit something more interesting and detailed. It is good practice to roughen the surface with a sandpaper, because the glue and color adhere better. If you use metal parts, you usually need to perform a clean and straight bend. These tools are pretty expensive, but you can create your own for a few dollars. Video link in the description. Of course, you can use ordinary tweezers for small parts. I glue metal parts with a super glue, but good technique is soldering if you want more robust and a reliable joint. However, it is suitable for larger models, therefore super glue suffices here. I am imitating cover glass on the dashboard with a clear varnish. There is in the kit a training version with a seat behind the pilot. However, originally there should be a radio station. Luckily Adriel's set allows this conversion. It is a little bit difficult, but it's worth it. The Top Gun turret also has insufficient details. It would be better to have this part from resin, because the shapes are quite complex. Nevertheless, I use a relatively old Adriel set, and it could be tricky and frustrating to assemble it correctly. I use round tools to make a nice curve. I also replaced plastic browning for the resin one. I told you that you do not need the most of the parts from the kit. You can completely replace the exhaust because they are small, but I only drill out the hole. However, the most horrible is bomb bay. If you don't have extra parts, I would consider making it closed. Okay, but I want to open it, so it is important to perform minor modifications. You can start by removing the whole section out. Good for this work is milling cutter and some electric hobby grinder. Adar set has this plate for gun bay, which you must bend to proper shape. Yes, in reality the Bombay is everything, but not flat. I am removing excess superglue with a deep wonder. It is special chemical that dissolves even dry superglue. I am modifying Bombay with a styrene profiles. There should be some wires and pipes. I use lead wires because they are easy to shape. However, if you do not like to work with a toxic lead, you can use tin instead. Just for comparison, the Bombay from a kit and the new one from metal parts. The wrong is also wheel well. Primarily the internal construction is not a circle. I decided on open landing flaps. Honestly, I struggle with this section a little, because the kit is old and not precise as I'm used to. Therefore, I split the ribs and glue them separately. It is important to modify the kit for flaps installation. Handy is razor saw, because the cut is thin and usually narrow, if you have some practice. It seems that flaps are taller than was indicated on the kit surface, so more plastic out. I am gluing flaps with a slow drying superglue. Primarily you have more time to correct orientation. I used once ordinary superglue and accidentally applied flaps obliquely. The best was that glue adhered almost immediately. Consequently, I had a hard time to separating them. As a result, I partly damaged them and the whole model was ruined. It would be easier to buy new resin wheels, but you can rescribe the whole tire pattern with a razor saw. It is a little bit time consuming, but on the other hand, it is a nice detail. I am dissolving plastic dust with an aggressive thin glue. The Avenger is heavy aircraft, so I cannot miss tire flattening this time. Simply smooth the edge with a sandpaper and restore the tire pattern. There is another problem with the kit accuracy near elevator. The edge is almost 2 mm thick. I cannot make only the edge sharper, I must remove a lot of plastic from the whole section. Now it is a little bit better. I am filling seam lines with a flexible superglue. The superglue is more resilient and stable than ordinary glue or putty for plastic. I already mentioned that pan lines are inconsistent and soft, thus it's time again for good old friend razor saw. It is primarily great for round shape, so born for the fuselage. However, it is also good for flat wings. I recently purchased a Tamiya scriber, so I'm looking forward to seeing if 15 times more expensive tool is better than cheap razor saw. I hope so. This is the result after rescribing. I also want to create the Revell lines, because I visited the British Duxford Museum 2 years ago and took some nice pictures of the Avenger wings there. You can nicely see pronounced Revell lines. I found some blueprints for riveting, but they are not very accurate, so I made the riveting primarily by photos. I am pre-drawing lines with a soft pencil. I am making rivets with a special riveting wheel. You can make it from old metal gears, or by expensive professional tool, but the result is more or less the same. I am making rivet lines because the surface looks more realistic then. The secondary advantage is that the rivet lines are perfect guidelines for shading, and it is easier to paint weathering. I do not glue wheel legs with a glue for plastic. The connection pins are very fragile and ordinary glue could weaken the joint. I rather use super glue. The seam line in the wheel well is scary. You don't want to bother with sanding it. Instead, cut out a precise part from styrene sheet and nicely cover the whole section. The cockpit canopy from the kit is usable if you want it closed. Otherwise, I recommend considering this nice vacuum replacement part. I had never used vacuum parts before, so I was skeptical that I would be capable of making it at the first glance. Nevertheless, you can perform one deeper cut and all is ruined. Here you can nicely see how the vacuum canopy is thin. I found in the stock this resin Wright R2600 engine for B25. Luckily, the same type of the engine was also used for the Avenger. I only added wires from copper and lead. I am covering already painted parts with a cleaning dish sponge. I have on the model many metal parts, so it is good to unify the surface with a primer. Of course, it will reveal imperfections, but also the color will adhere better. The whole bottom should be painted with a white. I'm not a big fan of a pre-shading, but at least some could help optically make the surface less uniform. Spraying templates are good for stains effect. However, the best is to make post-shading only with airbrush and freehand. I decided on typical marine 3-color marking. However, I didn't find the shade that I wanted, so I mixed 3 paints. Tamiya acrylic and AK real colors are similar, so you can combine them seamlessly. You can notice that the color transition is very smooth on the real aircraft. If you have some practice with the spraying, you do not need to use masks. However, it is essential to use masking tape on the sharp transition between wings and fuselage. I mix a slightly lighter shade because after varnish and weathering, the overall shade will be much darker. And again, although the wings are blue, it doesn't mean that you should use only one blue shade. I'm spraying around panel lines dark blue. The nice effect is to paint some panels lighter. The Avenger wings are quite massive, so it is good to play with the shades and make them more catchy. I am spraying over lacquer clear varnish. It will protect the result, but primarily clear varnish is the best base for waterslide decals and washes. Now I am softening decals with the decals chemicals. This is a pro technique, so you can probably skip it. When the decals are properly set and dry, apply 1 or 2 layers of a clear varnish over. As you can see, the edges of the decal are raised above the surface, and it doesn't look pleasant. I carefully remove the top varnish layer with a soft sandpaper and make the decal's edges uniform. I must restore rivets because after sanding they vanished. I unified the surface with a lacquer matte varnish. Matte is great for oil paint shading because it works like a sponge. Simply paints hold better on this type of the surface. I am making panel lines more uniform and pronounced with a dark brown wash. Okay, but that looks ugly. Therefore, I'm blending residual oil stains with a white spirit. The Avengers served as aircraft carriers, so I think accumulated salt could be a nice weathering effect. The light grey nicely fits with a dark blue shade, and again you can make some panels optically lighter and completely change the overall look this way. And I cannot forget at aluminum scratches. Primarily you can paint them around cockpit and gun base. I found some pictures of original US Mk torpedo. Probably you can paint the top section with a black, white or silver. Hard to say what is correct. I use for it metallic paints from AK. I already mentioned that I added the radio station instead of the seat. I only add some wires. I wanted to attach an antenna, but then the cockpit canopy cannot be in the open position, so I did a quick research and realized that it should be separated into two parts and in the middle is a small rail. Therefore I am performing cuts with a sharp side cutters. This is much better and primarily correct. Last but not least are stains from exhaust. I thought it was all for the weathering, but then I found this lovely picture. I realized I was not done with the weathering at all. Primarily I need more leaks around landing gears. I use oil paints and blending it with a white spirit. And more leaks around the engine. You can notice how leaks are leaking from the panel lines. And that is all for this lovely blue torpedo bomber. We decided on this type of the aircraft at local modeling club as a group build. So I'm looking forward to seeing many Avengers side by side at local exhibition. I will post some pictures on my Instagram and Facebook. You can then compare different approaches of the great modelers. Okay, I hope you like the result just a little bit and found some steps inspirational. Thank you for watching and see you next time.